Hello, everyone. I'm Amber Viola, host of Politics But Make It Fashion. Come chat with us. Welcome, Derrick, to my podcast. I have been gone for a while, guys, but I am back now. I was very sick, and as a vet, some of you know I've talked about just dealing with different vet-related sickness issues or whatever. But I'm finally back with a new interview, and I'm really, really excited about this one. This one will be coming out. It will be Black History Month. So I have a Black veteran with me who is a business owner and also a middle school visual arts teacher. I actually found him on social media randomly thinking that my friend knew who he was. I really liked his art. I liked his social media presence, and I kind of wanted to chat with him. So welcome.
I appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. So first I wanted to talk about your service as a veteran. Thank you so much for your service. I know that a lot of us really hate that. Um,
Oh, good. No, thank you as well. I appreciate it. I've
yeah.
warmed up to it over the years, so now just whenever somebody thanks me for I just say thank you and keep it moving.
Yeah, they mean well. They mean well.
Sure.
I actually heard somebody say, because I never knew how to respond to it, and
Mhm.
somebody said, "Thank you for your support." And I was like, okay, I feel so much better about those interactions now with
Yeah,
saying that back
it
to
sounds a
them.
lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you were a veteran. What branch of service were you in, and what was your job?
Sure. So, I served in the United States Navy from 2005
Oh yeah.
to yep, definitely to early or actually late 2014. So, I was a PS. I was a personnel specialist, and so I dealt with customer service, Navy pay, travel claims, like basically overall Navy pay and kind of like human resources
Yeah.
equivalent in the civilian world, but in the military. So I think that's why I do fairly okay in business because customer service is on point. So yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So, I'm also a Navy veteran, and our service did overlap. Because I got in at 2010 and I was still in 2014. I
Okay,
was an
cool.
instructor for a while, and part of our job was the personnel side.
Yeah,
And so I helped my students with their pay, their wills, their training. You know, I did training for them all the time. I kicked people out of the military, and I
yeah.
actually went
Same.
on to become a human resource director. So
Nice,
yeah.
nice. Yeah,
And it
awesome.
was the same. So
Yeah, yeah. That's what I hear. I almost got out and did human resources. That's what I was going to do, but my girlfriend at the time, who was my wife, she seen me draw, and she's like, "No, sir, you need to go to college for art." So she's kind of the reason why I went in the direction I went into instead of human resources. I was just gonna play it safe and like, hey, this is
yeah,
what I've
yeah.
done for almost a decade, and I'm gonna just do this when I get out as a civilian. But with God,
Why did you decide to get out?
I think for me, I went in just because, I've always been an artist. I've been that since I was young, but I never really had any, outlets or anything like that as a black artist to try to make it a career out of it. I never had any mentorship in that or never knew of anybody. I think I had like one black art teacher who was a elderly lady. And I mean, she was good, when I was in eighth grade, but she was just a pure teacher. She never owned her business or anything like that, and so I just really didn't know. And then, grew up in Southern California in the 90s. I was a bit of a troublemaker. So, yeah, military, I needed some discipline. So I definitely, went in, into service and stuff like that. So I guess,
Did you go right
um,
after high school?
no, I went when I was 21. So I graduated. I moved to Chicago, Illinois with my stepfather and my mom. And then I was just kind of getting into trouble. And my mom was like, look, you can either go in service or you can get out at 21. My mom was kind of tired of you boys. So I was like, let me stop kind of disappointing my family and just, do something. And so
Yeah.
that's
That's
what
crazy. I went in a little bit later too. I was 22.
okay.
I did a year of college. I was just poor. I
Okay.
loved I
Yeah.
loved school. I had a bunch of scholarships and stuff, but it didn't put gas in your car, and it didn't
Oh,
like feed
gotcha.
you
Yeah. Oh,
and different things
crazy.
like that. So I came from a military family, and I decided to go into the service to use them so that I could go to college and get an education and things like that.
Thank
Did
you.
you like the Navy?
Yeah, I did like it because I've always been a big fan of traveling and just meeting new people. So I know a lot of artists tend to be more introverts. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
very extroverted. I love meeting people. Doesn't matter what background, where you're from. It doesn't matter. And so that I still have some of, a lot of my friends that I still talk to this day from the military. And I love the traveling aspect. I really did. The work was kind of hard depending on, what you did, especially in the early days when I started, when you had to go
Yeah, yeah.
FA or TAD or all that other stuff. And so, yeah, that was kind of rough. But I mean, overall, like in hindsight, I don't remember a lot of the tough days. I just remember
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the travel. Oh my goodness, I'll never forget that. So.
Where did you go?
So I was stationed in Virginia for 5 years, but I deployed quite a bit. So I deployed, like 4 times in like I'd say 5 or 6
4 years?
years. Well, probably like 5 or 6 years because I deployed 3 times in my first command. It was VFA 37. It was a squadron at NAS
Hmm.
Louisiana. And so I deployed once on the Roosevelt, twice on the Truman, and then I did shore duty in San Diego, California, my hometown. And
Yeah.
then I got deployed boots on ground to Kyrgyzstan for a whole year. So I was over there near Afghanistan. And that was different, but I mean, I got to, go to that side of the country too, or
Yeah.
that side of the world too. And so, yeah, just definitely saw a lot.
I was in Virginia as well. I did 2 deployments on the Abraham Lincoln.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
I think my ex-husband did a deployment on the Truman
Yeah. Yeah.
as well. I always did want to go on a small boy or be part of like a squadron because I thought that they were just like so cool
Yeah.
and stuff
Squadron was
like
cool.
that and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. You seem like you really used it to your advantage. Um, I know that a lot of people in the military, especially a lot of black men, they come in and they find it difficult for different reasons,
Mhm.
and they aren't able to really get the benefits of it.
Sure.
And we'll talk about you when you get out and stuff, but I think that really has an impact on when you're trying to then get out.
Right. I think for me, what was different about that is that, when I was in, growing up in California, I kind of went through it a little bit. My family life was good, but just, where we lived and, just stuff I seen wasn't the greatest. So, I mean, my goodness, I think by the time I went into service, 2 of my friends had already passed away from violence, and so, uh, and then one went to a prison for a long time, and you kind of see that, and I think when you're a child, you have I guess the benefit of ignorance where you don't
Hmm.
really see the ramifications of your actions. But then as soon as you turn 18, especially if you're black, you can't make mistakes. And,
Right,
and
right.
I've seen people pay the ultimate price for mistakes. Good people too, they
Hmm.
just didn't come from the best of situations. And I think for me, once I got in, I was like, I have to take this seriously because I feel like I wasted every opportunity. I mean, I was able to go to college for free, and I totally did not take it seriously. And that was through my stepfather. I used his benefits,
Hmm.
wasted it, And so even me, when I was younger, I made some mistakes. I got arrested, And so uh, pretty much by the time I got in, I was like, okay, I can't make any more mistakes. Like I have
Right.
to do this right. This has to work, And so yeah.
Yeah. What rank did you get to?
I was E5 when I got out. And so I think for me, the plan was never to really make a career out of it. I think it was kind of like one of those last choice type of things. Like I screwed up everything else and I was like, I got to make something out of this. But
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really wanted to be a career person. But I know my stepfather, he'd retired from the military and he was at least he said do more than one enlistment. And so I did
Hmm.
2 enlistments and then
Yeah.
pretty much got my college, my benefits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I get asked, when I was I got asked a lot about why I was successful
Mhm.
in the military and what kind of made me different because I made E5 and 4 and I went in undesignated.
Oh, wow.
I got in trouble my
Mhm.
first year because I didn't take nothing seriously. I worked hard and I played harder,
Right.
and I had never seen the ramifications of being a black kid. I was a good kid. I grew up in all white spaces, so I knew it was a thing, but
Yeah.
I had never really personally experienced it. And so once I was in, I saw like, oh, I can't. my standard is going to be different, you know. And then I really took advantage of whatever I could get access to. But I did go into it knowing I probably wasn't going to make it a career because I wanted to go to school. I wanted to be able to get out and stuff. And so I did do 2 enlistments and everything. And, but I just remember getting out and it was like, I had so many people who were above me. Actually, the captain of my last command was like, why can't we keep people in, women in, you know, once they reach like E5? Because everybody's like, why are you getting out? And I was like, I'm not trying to stay here with y'all.
I know that's right. I
You
mean,
know,
yeah. I don't think it's anything personal. I just think that some people know what they want. And I mean, I know that the Navy, they're big on trying to, keep retention and, keep people and stuff, but some people just have different plans.
yeah.
As long
So
as you
how
don't.
was it for you when you were getting out?
So pretty much it was a little rough just because my command, they didn't want me to get out either. And then when they knew what I was getting out for to pursue art, oh, they were
I can't even imagine.
oh my goodness, they clowned me, man. They was like, you gonna get out to be an artist, you gonna give all this up to be an artist, you're gonna fail and everything like that, but um I think what really kept me grounded was my girlfriend at the time, who was my wife, probably because she's my wife, and so she saw me. I think I was going through a lot at the time, and I just remember, her saying, what when you're upset or when you're going through things, what can you do that's constructive, And I was like, well, I used to draw a lot when I was younger, and mind you, the whole time in service, I didn't draw at all. I completely
Right.
stopped doing it, once I went in. And I remember I did it and I was still kind of decent at it. And I just remember I just broke down crying because I was like, I had this gift and I let it go, because I didn't have the faith in myself and I didn't have the mentorship. And I pretty much told myself, I was like, I'll never put this down again. Like pretty much the next time I put this down, like I'll be gone from this earth. And so
Right.
my thing. And my wife was like, you need to go to college for this. And so she sat me down and we came up with a plan. And, she definitely showed me a lot of colleges and just really, put it together for me. And I got out and got to work.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think that having somebody in the military in your family helped you as well?
What, my stepfather?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that did, just because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I said, hindsight, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do. I mean, when I got out of high school, I did go to college and I didn't even know if it was going to be for art. I didn't even get past my core classes before I got arrested and got pretty much dropped from all of my classes. So I didn't even make it that far. But I do think it helped out in the sense of, doing something that had some form of meaning. And I mean, my stepfather, he definitely was like, you can't keep getting in trouble like this. Why don't you try the Navy? He's like, it's not that bad, to be honest. He was like, now you got to stop getting in trouble because that's not going to work out for you. You don't want to get out with anything other than an honorable discharge. But he was like, you're going to have to take it serious. And so, and it was tough, but I mean, I come from a tough background. I have a couple of uncles who are some pretty tough guys, and, they have that hard work ethic,
Mm-hmm.
like men, not these crazy internet alpha dudes, or just
Yeah, yeah.
regular men, who go to work, they worked hard, they took care of their families. And, I had that example through my stepfather and my uncles. And so
Yeah.
I think that was especially my stepfather, it was a good example. Watch him put his uniform on and go to work every day. And I was inspired by that because I didn't know my real father. I didn't, have that guidance, and to see that, yeah, I think I definitely followed in his
Yeah.
footsteps for, at least 8 years I did. So, yeah.
My mom was in the military, and she
Awesome.
retired from the Army. And for me, I think that also, definitely helped me because it made me more assertive, know
Yes.
what I wanted, went after it.
Yeah.
She was an officer,
Oh,
so I
nice.
didn't have that fear of officers
Yeah.
or upper chain of command. So I asked questions. I, volunteered for things. I kind of would I wouldn't say I didn't play it safe, but I knew like, hey, well, if you want something, you have to go after it. And I found a lot of people were too nervous or scared or afraid that somebody would say no. So
Yeah.
they never really tried. They
Absolutely.
never tried to really pursue anything. And And in the military, a lot of times they're not just going to hand it to you. You know,
No.
the people who get to do the cool stuff and get the cool jobs and cool deployments, they go after it and they ask for things. And you sound very assertive, and so I can see why you did well
Yeah.
when you were in there. And even then, you said the transition was still hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
what did you find hard about it?
Well, so when I got out, I started to go to college, and I went to Art Institute in San Diego. But I think right after we got out and moved to California, oh my, and then we were already engaged by this time, but my fiance was pregnant. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so I don't have the covering of the military anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like, yeah, it was just like crazy times because she was pregnant with my son. Then we're planning a wedding. Then I'm going to college. Then I find out the profession that I went into, or that I'm getting my degree in, graphic design. For some reason, they don't hire Black people. I don't even think the percentage has changed much since then. I literally looked up the stats. They said it is 3% African Americans in the graphic design profession, and 0 are in leadership. So 0% are on their creative agency, or creative firms or whatever. And I think it's still like that. I think it might be slightly higher, but not by much.
Yeah.
So basically, I knew when I was walking into college, I had to also walk into business. And I've never ran a business ever, and never ran anything as a creative person ever. I just knew how to draw. I didn't even
Yeah.
know how to use the graphic design programs. I knew, so what, 10 years ago, I didn't know. I couldn't tell you what Photoshop was. I've never
Right. Right.
So I had to learn all of that. And I mean, when I started from the bottom, I started from the bottom.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard. And then, I was going to school. I was driving Uber at the time because it was really hard to work when you're trying to juggle college and you got to, make the grades
Yeah. Right.
paying for it, and so I was driving Uber. So it was like literally I was up at, I swear, sometimes from 6 to like 11, 12 at night, all day, school, driving Uber,
Homework.
homework, business, trying to take all them first 5 years. It was rough. It was really rough. Definitely tested my character for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely burned myself out
Yeah.
within the first 4. I've been out for 6 years now.
Okay.
And I hit the ground running. I moved the next day I started college. And I went full time, and I went through the summer because I wanted to just keep it going and stuff. And so
Yeah.
I was also working. I was a mom, and yeah, I ended up burning myself out. But I was like, oh my God, I have to like do something. I have to try and keep it going. And I felt like I was a little bit behind.
Yeah.
Now when I look back, I realize I really wasn't.
Yeah.
But at the time, I definitely felt like I was. Once I started college and was in college, and even once I started my master's program, I was like, oh, even though some people are younger than me or whatever,
Sure.
everybody has their level of knowledge, but I realized, okay, I'm not really behind
Right. Right.
with anyone, and you have to give yourself some grace. But I know as military people, we're going to be very hard on ourselves
Right.
as, when we get out and stuff like that.
And
So,
hold on, we'll say, and shout out to all the Black women too who are taking care of kids and going to college. Now, I salute all of y'all. I really do. I love my queens who are out there, getting it. And I know it's rough. It was rough on me, and I know it's rough on y'all. So salute to y'all for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be so hard.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah, I remember those days. It was really rough. It was days where I'm telling you, man, I was crying in my own car. It was
Yeah.
just it was that rough. I mean, that's
I was
some of that stuff.
tired. I was like, why did I do this?
Yeah, yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah,
not sleeping.
right, right,
I'm
right,
broke.
right, right. Oh yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And there was a lot of people who felt like veterans get all this money and you have
Right.
all of this support and there's all these programs and people just love you and are just so willing to help you. And that wasn't true. And
Mhm.
so that was a shock to me. And it was. And, my mom was in the military and everything. And so I don't know how maybe I missed it or whatever, but I definitely thought there was going to be more support. I thought there was going to be more help, and that I just wasn't going to be on my own, struggling, poor, trying to like do this, you know?
No, man, I tell you, I literally applied for, I think, I'd probably say it got to like 30 or 40 graphic design jobs. Never made it past the interview. I think one company told me, oh, you're designing for 2 hours. Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can't even say that but that's
Oh,
neither
they,
here.
oh, they did. And that, but see, that's the thing is that I think that just because it's like I said, it's like 97%, excuse me, Caucasian. It's not, there's nobody else. And so I think some of those guys, they could,
And there's a lot of people who don't like hiring veterans. And I also did not know that.
yeah,
Um, I guess I assumed because, you know, we have veterans preference. FYI, y'all, we're part of DEI. And so I was thinking, you know, get a job and do whatever. But a lot of people do not want to hire veterans at
hmm,
all.
right,
And then they feel like you're overqualified
right,
for things, but yet you don't actually have experience for
right,
things. So then other people feel like you're maybe underqualified. You
right.
know, I found there was this sense of like people thought you were going to be mean and stringent and super like, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
or you'd be like this crazy PTSD person like trying to kill people.
right.
And I was like, where are you guys getting these stereotypes from? Number one, like
Like
that is
too much
crazy,
TV.
you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But when I was HR director, I had a lot of people who were like, you're not qualified for this. Be, you know, and I was only hired because I was Black.
right,
And I was like, you know, I did this in the military. You know, I know what I'm doing and everything. So I know that was a shock for me. And I'm glad to hear that that kind of was a surprise for you as well. I don't know what's going to happen when DEI is gone, and that's going to hurt a lot of veterans, because people, if you're not a veteran, you're looking to hire veterans, people aren't going to look to hire veterans, sadly.
right.
So
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. I think most people assume that, I don't know why, but they assume that DEI means Black, and it does
yeah,
not
yeah,
mean everybody else besides the status quo. That's what it means, So yeah,
yeah, it does. And even there was points when I was trying to find a place, and I'm a disabled vet, and people didn't want to rent to me because they said I didn't have a real job, or you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything. And I was like, what? First of all, that pretty sure that's illegal. Second, like that is crazy. Are you you know, a lot of us are disabled and either work in our own business or, you know, doing different things or whatever. And that was something else I found. I was like, okay, well that's crazy.
yeah.
How did you come from and become the middle school visual arts teacher? Did you do that in between before you started your business, or
No, I ran my business for what, almost, I'd say almost 10 years. I just got hired on or not even last year, like last semester. So pretty much uh, the summer of last year. That's when I was hired on. And so that was just because my business kind of slowed down a little bit. And then I was getting kind of burned out with it. And I just, definitely want some things like a house and, that kind of stuff for my family. And so, and then as a business owner, healthcare sucks.
yeah,
So yeah, and so I think with the rising cost of everything, I was like, okay, my family's needs are getting greater than what my business can provide, and my business does pretty well. It's just that it's kind of like that um, starve and eat in between clients, and it's like I need something to fill that gap, and so my wife again, she was like, "Why don't you become a visual art teacher?" She looked everything up and was like, "You have a degree. This is what you can do." And so I pretty much got hired on as a visual arts teacher, and I did work as a substitute last year, and so I got hired on. And what that does for me as a business owner is now, because I always felt like when I was running my business before, I wasn't able to pretty much I had to take every project because I had to put dinner on the table, whether it was
hmm
a good project, whether it was not so good, whether the pay was great, whether the pay was crap, So
yeah,
I
yeah,
had to take it because I'm thinking of my family. I'm thinking of my wife and 2 kids,
hmm
So even if I knew the project wasn't paying well, I still took it. Now as a visual art teacher and I have that, that steady paycheck and the healthcare issues, and basically our issues resolved. Like now I can pick and choose, and like, oh, I don't want this, or oh, I can take that. And so I think as a visual art teacher, it gives me options, and stability.
Right.
And creative is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And healthcare is a big thing too, because even for me, I'm 100%, and people don't realize that my healthcare does not extend to my family,
Right.
to my kids. So
Right.
my kid wouldn't have healthcare if I didn't get healthcare from somewhere else.
Sure.
So that is definitely a very hard thing, and healthcare is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a vet, if you're not using the VA, if you don't have benefits that way, then you really just, your healthcare is dependent on wherever you're going to work and whatever you're going to do.
Right. And in terms of healthcare, the VA isn't great at all. Like as far as I love my military, but yeah, man, like especially if you have just like if you have issues. I have disabilities too. I'm at 60%, but like if you're depending on the VA from healthcare, that's not the greatest.
It's rough. That's me. It's hard out here.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it really depends on your VA though, but yeah, it's definitely rough. And I have my own business now. And so I was able to get financing through like grants and different thing, and applying to different things. Were you able to, did you see that for you? Were you able to use any of those resources or anything as far as like being a business owner and starting out as a veteran and stuff?
No, man, mine is completely grassroots, client to client. I never took a grant. Never. I've applied for some. I've never got them. But mine is just have steadily built my client base up over 10 years. That is
Yeah.
how I did it, day in and day out, just grind, grind, grind. It started with close friends, family members supporting at first, then it branched out to groups of people. Just kept branching out, and I don't have a super huge following. But I think as of today, 1/3 of my Instagram uses my business, whether it's
Wow.
design
Wow. Yeah.
or purchasing artwork, and so that's about roughly 700 to 800 people.
Wow. Well, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's definitely good. And I know I dated a vet who was a business owner, and I know he had a hard time with if he wanted to work, because he felt like if he was working, he wasn't focusing on his business and
right.
couldn't, do things. But I felt more like you need less stress, right? Once you are making money and your bills are paid, I think it's easier then to focus on your business and to focus on things when you're not trying to survive, you know.
Yeah, yeah. If I could have went back, honestly, like I would have did the teaching thing as soon as I left, because I went through some stuff when I got out where it was just like, oh my goodness, there were, we sold both of our cars to eat. We were evicted from our place. It wasn't because we didn't pay rent. It was because we had private owners, and my son was a baby at the time. And well, I can't remember. Oh, or I know, like my wife, I think she made a mistake and it got like one of his baby jars stuck in the garbage disposal, and it was very easy to take out. Like they took it out, but then as soon as they did, like the next day, we had an eviction notice on our door. They basically kicked us out over having a baby, pretty much, and
Yeah.
pretty much
Wow.
had to move abruptly, take out loans for that. Oh my goodness, yeah. We went like a while without a car. Accounts was constantly negative, and I felt like I was about to lose my mind. And so
Man.
yeah, if I could go back, I would have got out and just been an art teacher from the jump, and just would have saved my sanity and been
Yeah.
there and built my business at the same time, instead of trying to build a business and hustle, 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 because I feel like I burned myself out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was times when I was broke. I had
Yeah,
no money. I was like, how am I going to feed my child with $10 for this week
right,
until, I get paid? Or how am I going to put gas in my car,
right,
and pay my rent and do different things? And, the VA, even if you're getting benefits and stuff, it's not, they don't pay your rent. You have to pay your rent from the money that you're getting and
sure,
everything. You're trying to kind of juggle.
yep,
And I know that like veteran suicide is an epidemic. It's a problem. 22 vets a day kill themselves. If you add in overdoses, that comes up to about 44 a day. And I know so many vets have a hard time with the transition process. And also just with how hard it is trying to get out of the military, struggling, not having money, and people end up on the streets if they don't have a good, you know, support system and different things like that. So I'm glad that you guys got through it and came out the other side with your sanity. But yeah, it's definitely a real struggle. But so my daughter is an artist,
Awesome.
and yeah, so she draws. She's been drawing since she was tiny.
Awesome.
And
Good.
so I've always pushed it for her, and I, you know, put her in art class when she was 3. She had art lessons and stuff. She has an art room now.
Absolutely.
She's asking me for canvases. So how do you what would you tell parents of kids who are showing interest in art, especially Black parents,
Right.
for kind of like guidance, or even what what can they do? Because a lot
Right.
of people think it's not a real career.
Right.
You can't really make money from it. But
Right.
even to me, if you don't want to go into it as a full-time job, how can you still help your kid along throughout their young life with
So
supporting them?
I think you're absolutely doing the right thing. I think, as a mother, I like I said, I commend you for for getting her into classes and setting her up with an art room. Exactly. Because the last thing you want to do is, tell a kid it's not a real job. And my family didn't do that. Now my family are not artists. A few of my family members are entrepreneurs, so they do understand
Mm,
the creativity aspect of it. And so, like even my mom put me in a magnet school when I was younger for, I think it was art, math, and science. And so, my people, they try to help me out as best as I could. And I remember,
right.
yeah, I have an aunt Julia. She's a old school Southern lady. I mean, just old school. And I know she was she's the one who's always, as a Black person, you got to be 3 times as good. And, she
Mm-hmm.
knew that I could draw. And I remember she used to literally make me sit at her table while she'd be
Yep.
cooking, and just draw me this, draw me a dog, draw me a house, draw me this. And she's like, I'm making you practice because she said, you as a Black man, you can't just be good. You're going to have to be great. And she's like, you don't understand it now, but you will when you become an adult. And I completely understand where she's coming from. There is no good with Black people. You have to
Right. Right.
it is what it is, so yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause she has art in school now, but I never took an art class before. You know, I never did art in school or anything like that. So I want to push it for her. And so when I was seeing that you were an art teacher and you were actually an artist, because I know that a lot of teachers are just teachers, you know, and just kind of there. So how would you say for students if then they wanted to kind of try to pursue art more?
Sure. I would just definitely make them well rounded, definitely have them do the traditional stuff like, drawing on paper or painting or, just messing with different art forms.
Mm-hmm.
I would say also have them do the design aspect, like have them use computers, because I think every kid these days has a Chromebook or an iPad or a
Mm-hmm.
tablet or some form of something, which they do work on anyway. Have them do art on that because honestly, I do think as a creative, knowing how to do the graphic design work and all that stuff. These days, I'm very sought out. Like these days, I'm talking to clients like pretty much every day. Like I have to talk to a client right after our call, pretty much. And so I would have them do the computer aspect of it. And I think most kids, like I know at my school, the kids can use Adobe. It's basically the program I've been
Mm-hmm.
using
Yeah.
for free. They can have them explore that really and have them, if a lot of kids watch YouTube, I know a lot
Yep.
of parents are against that, but have them watch videos on Adobe. Get them smart on that because that's the industry standard. When people seek, designers out for projects, they want to know you can use that. And I think that honestly, these days, I think school is important and having a degree is important, but you don't necessarily need it. Not as a graphic designer. If you have the skill, you will be sought out. So that's what I would say, especially as a Black parent. And
Yeah.
immerse your
Yeah.
kids in programs. They already have the tools. And I think that was the big thing that I was missing out on. Like we didn't have Chromebooks and tablets and all. Oh, I wish I'm envious of kids born during this time because I was like, if I was you and I could go back, but have all
Right.
this stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'd be rich, like, and
Right.
just,
Right.
because you have access to all this stuff, these programs that like I knew nothing about when I was a child. I didn't know about any of this stuff. I didn't know about it until I was a full grown adult in my 30s, so yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, no, I didn't even really think about her even starting to use Adobe, but we do use a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
She looks up things to draw
Yeah.
on there, and I found a lot of kid friendly stuff
Sure.
and everything. Right now, she's going through an anime phase, so
Oh,
she's, drawing little anime stuff and everything. But so what about the Art Institute? I know, isn't that one of the, like, a for profit um college? So if you did want to go to college, would you recommend an art school like that or a regular 4-year school that has like an art program?
I would probably recommend an art school that has a 4-year program just to gain the skills. Like mine was for profit, and I do feel like they were really for profit. And I think that's the reason why they're not open anymore, because the Art Institute is closed everywhere.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so I think the reason why that I did choose the Art Institute is because I was able to start immediately because I needed to get paid immediately because there was no
Yeah.
more
They
baby.
targeted veterans
Right.
a lot. Yeah, yeah.
And so that's the reason why I went. But I can tell you that they taught me the basic stuff, like, but everything that I know, like I taught myself pretty much. Like all the skilled things that I do, like I taught myself that. I knew the people in the media center or the library at that school, they knew me by name because I was
Mhm.
in every day because, like I said, as a black graphic designer who didn't get those opportunities to get hired, like I had to make this work. And so I read books on top of books and just kept drawing and studying and sat in that library and just like learned as much as I could before I
Yeah.
got out of there.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to ask, but you already kind of answered it, but how did you do it? Because that's a question that I get asked all of the time.
Sure.
I never thought I would have a business ever. I
Mhm.
never wanted a business. I never thought I would really, it wasn't that I didn't think I would be capable. It just wasn't really a thing that I was like interested in.
Right.
I ended up doing it, and YouTube, Google, researched a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
asked a lot of questions, and it seems like you really just did the same thing. There's not a clear answer. You have to kind of just figure it out.
Right. I think I really, I know that during the time, like I said, I'm from the West Coast. And so I was really a fan of, Nipsey Hussle, like, rest in peace to him. But
Rest
I
in
held
peace,
on
Tips.
I held on to that man's every word just because I felt like he was the most accurate representation of what success was, and not bubblegum success or easy bake oven, like real success, like sticking to something day in and day out. And I know one of the things he said,
Grinding all my life.
right, right, and he said it in a radio interview, and he said, he went through every emotion pursuing what he was trying to do. And I mean, when like I've lived and breathed that, where it's like, I went through every emotion that I was broke, I lost things, I lost cars, I lost friends, I lost my way of life, I've been negative by the hundreds of dollars, okay, to get my art. Like I sell art prints now, like they're moving now, but to sell those art prints, I remember the days where I used to go to skate parks and comic book stores and wherever I thought that my art would be seen at, and put those things there for free, like really doing art shows where I paid $400 to invest in all this stuff and I sold nothing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I went through every single emotion. I've cried. I've cried. Oh, I've cried many of nights when my family was sleeping. Just broke down and was like, how am I going to support my wife and these kids?
What am I doing?
Yeah,
Why am I even doing
there was
this?
even a point where I was considering telling my old lady, I was like, I don't know if you should stay with me because, we're just broke, and I don't know if I could do this as your husband. And I was literally like considering telling my wife that, and I love this woman. You know what I mean? Like this woman has
I mean, there
really,
was times where I felt like I couldn't raise my kid, like,
right,
am
right, right,
I,
right,
is this the best for her? Is this the best life?
right,
Because I'm busy, I'm struggling, I'm broke,
yeah,
I'm stretched
yeah,
thin or whatever. But I hope that she saw me hustle and work hard and have a dream and pursue it and,
right.
grind and keep it going.
Right. But I think if you can do that, and I mean you may have to suffer through some things, but I think that honestly, I think that there is a reward on the other side of that. And I'm starting to kind of in year 10 see, and I think that's when people tell you it takes about 5 or 10 years to get to that success. It really does, because you have to go through things that will change you. Like, I know back in the Navy, I used to party and drink and all. I barely drink these days. Like, you will change. You have to literally go through a metamorphosis to get to the point where, you can start seeing that success. And if you cannot take the losses personal, and I mean, I'm not making light of any losses that anybody has to take, but if you cannot take it personal, quit, you will win, So
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. So we've been on here for about 40 minutes now, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I
Oh,
want
you
to say,
good.
what words of advice would you, for two groups? So first, for kids wanting to kind of pursue art,
Right.
what words of advice would you give them? And also veterans or military who are kind of about to transition or want to get out. I know you had said that people, ragged on you. I know a lot of people were like, you're not going to be nothing. You're not going to be successful. You're not
Right.
going to be able to do this, whatever. You need to stay in. So what would you say to those people?
For the kids, I would say, don't quit. If you are sure about this talent and you love what you're doing, and you wake up and the first thing you could think about is drawing or picking up a pencil, don't ever stop. Even if you do something else in life, don't ever quit. And don't be too hard on yourself as a kid either. I know a lot of my students, for some reason, I know there was a young lady, a sixth grader, and she broke down in tears for trying to impress me as an artist. And I was like, it doesn't have to be great. The fact that you're here and you're creating impresses me. Don't stop doing it. Keep doing it every single day. And I was like, nothing is built in a day.
Right, right,
I was
right,
like, even me as an adult, like 10 years ago when I picked up the pencils again and started drawing, it was not the greatest, but
right. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And so for veterans getting out of the military, I would say, especially if you're going the entrepreneur route, use those programs. Like, I know they do offer, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's SCORE. I think that's what it's called. But that's something that is the one thing that I'm glad that I did. But what they'll do is, SCORE is like kind of like an entrepreneurship type of program through the VA, or I think through, something with veterans. And
yeah,
they'll sit you down and let you talk to somebody who has been in entrepreneurship. It may not be in your field, but they have the experience, and they can tell you, how to make a business plan, how to plan for taxes, how to plan for, things that a business owner will need. And also, if you're going to get out and you got maybe a year or two left on your contract, save every dollar. Do
yep,
not
yep.
party. Forget about clubbing. Just like put that stuff on hold.
I paid my car off. I
Yeah,
made a CD
yeah,
that deposited into my account. I think
yeah,
I took like a couple hundred from every paycheck
yeah,
and put it in the CD. And then once I got out, I think it deposited after my like first month out or
yeah.
something like that. And yeah,
That's the big thing as a veteran. Save your money, because the military does take care of a lot, and then when you get out, it's like it could be a shell shock if you're not prepared. So prepare for that. And you saving your money and taking care of your responsibilities, it will shoulder some of that shell shock for sure.
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on Politics But Make It Fashion. Come interview with me. Derrick, it's been truly an honor, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I'm ready to take this and apply it to my life and help my daughter with her pursuit of art. She wants to be an artist,
Cool.
and everything. She has her first little show right now, so she's showing her art, and I love when I see people pursuing things in a way that's not conventional,
Yeah,
and kind of finding a little niche for themselves, finding a way.
yeah,
You said when you first, what do you think about when you first wake up? I always thought about talking or asking people 100 questions.
right.
And that's what I'm doing now,
Sure.
and I used to dream about writing and giving an Oscar acceptance speech and winning an Emmy and stuff. And what did it sound ridiculous? Yes. And did I know how I was going to use it or what it was going to do? I'm sure you didn't know how you were going to use art. You just knew you loved it, but you can kind of figure it out in non-conventional ways and figure out how to do something that you love,
Right.
but can also be beneficial for you and thing. Now I talk for a living. So,
Well, I think you having those, no thought is a mistake. And I think that you having those dreams of receiving an Emmy, or doing writing and all that other stuff like that, that's not ridiculous. That's God placing it on your heart that you can do that. That is yours. And so,
Well, thank you. Thank you.
absolutely. And as far as your daughter, if she ever needs anything, you have a lifeline now. Please, feel free to hit me up. And I love that kind of stuff. I love children. I love children for the fact that they're young, they're innocent, their lives can go so many ways, and I feel like mine kind of went a little left at first, but I was able to get it on track. So if she ever needs anything, any advice or anything, please, you guys, both of you, reach out to me, and I'll try
Awesome.
to
Thank.
inform
I
you.
really would. One thing I would say, I wish that in my community where she goes to art lessons, it's expensive,
Yeah,
and so her classes all white kids, mostly. I think there was one little black boy who was there, but people. It was like the other side of the community couldn't use it, and I remember people be like, "Oh, where did your daughter go to art class?" And I would tell them, and they'd be like, "Girl, I can't." And I'm like, so I hope in the future, I work with a lot of community organizations, we can get like a little art program for the community, for kids who maybe don't have art in school or want to pursue something extra, so that all kids would be able to kind of try to do it and use something.
yeah, definitely.
So thank you so much. Please tell people where they can find you at on social media so that they will be able to look you up.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at Whitfield Designs, WHITFIELD. Same last name for WhitfieldDesignStore.com or WhitfieldDesignsCo.com. That's my website. I do design work. I sell art prints. I'm going to get back into selling T-shirts, hoodies, and all that other stuff. And yeah, you can find me anywhere online by my last name.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us. You can find us at Politics But Make It Fashion 1 on Instagram, Politics But Make It Fashion on TikTok, and follow us on Facebook at Politics But Make It Fashion, and we will chat soon.